everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Repro Film podcast series. I'm your host, Asha Dahya, thrilled to be bringing you another fantastic filmmaker interview this month. And I guarantee you will laugh, squirm, be a little bit shocked, and maybe even comforted somehow. But before we get to my chat with award-winning British filmmaker Tia Salisbury, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the heaviness of what it means to now officially live in a post-Roe America. On June 24, the Supreme Court officially released their ruling in the Dobbs v. Jackson case, and it has sent the country into a spin. Thankfully, many people on the front lines of abortion access and activism have been preparing for this moment for years. So Roe v. Wade being overturned is not the end of abortion access in the United States. There is going to be a lot of work to do now on a state and local level. And as the landscape rapidly changes, we will continue to amplify and support the work of Repro leaders across the country. Here at Repro Film, we are also committed more than ever to sharing important messages through brilliant films, giving bite-sized pieces of action every month in our periodical, and growing a community of people who turn to film, art, and creativity in moments when all else feels a little hopeless. That is our promise to you. So this month, we wanted to switch gears a little and bring some joy and humor to the table. Our feature short film is called Placenta Pâté, and if you haven't seen it yet, head to reprofilm.org to watch it right after this chat, because as you'll hear, there are some really fascinating insights into the background of this film that will make you appreciate all the hard work, research, and passion that goes into making even a short film. My guest today is Tia Salisbury, a multi-award-winning writer and director based in the UK. Her live-action shorts have been screened at BAFTA qualifying festivals, including the London Short Film Festival. Although COVID was a tumultuous time for the film industry and for parents, for Tia, who was also a mum, it ended up being a rather productive and successful time in her career. She made a comedy short film which won 2 awards and wrote a comedy series pilot. Tia's latest comedy short, Placenta Pâté, focuses on new parenting in all its messy chaos as experienced through the eyes of clashing same-sex mums Libby and Erin, played by Bethan, Nash, and Georgia Frost. New mother Libby has breastfeeding woes, but when her wife suggests a traditional placenta remedy as the answer, underlying tensions rear their head, and it's not just the kitchen getting messy. Join me as I speak with Tia about all things placenta, motherhood, filmmaking, and how sometimes the best way to get your project funded is to just annoy the crap out of funders until they give you the money and tell you to piss off. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Tia. I'm so excited to be chatting about placenta, all things Placenta Pâté with you, and filmmaking and motherhood. But first, I'd love to have you share how the idea for the film came about and when was it filmed?
Well, thank you for chatting to me about the film. It's a real treat. And who wouldn't want to talk about placenta for a bit of their day? Who wouldn't? Well, the short answer to the film coming about was we were super lucky to get some funding and support from Exeter Phoenix, who are a cinema and a sort of an arts funding body down in the lovely city of Exeter in the West Country in Great Britain, where I live. And they gave us a pot of money to get going with, which was through pitching the idea, developing the script a little bit. But kind of the longer answer is I honestly have been fermenting bits of this film for about like 20 years, I swear to God. And I think some films come, really fully formed. They're just wallop. That's the film. You have your theme, you have everything, and it's just, especially with shorts, because they've got to be, pretty succinct.
Yeah.
But this was like bits of a jigsaw that just fell into place over years and years. And I mean, honestly, the initial starting point was my brother had my niece, who's now a beautiful 20-something-year-old, and he was such a keen dad, but like had babies before any of his peers and wanted to be hands-on and brilliant and all over it. And he just told me I rang him in the first week, how's it going? And he's changing his daughter's nappy in the middle of the night, just an amazing dad moment. and the little belly button nubbin that they tie off the umbilical cord.
Oh, yes.
Babies have this little, I think the technical term is nubbin, and they, it just falls out off over a few days. And he's changing the nappy and there's no nubbin. And he looks round and the family cat is staring at him going, and the cat's eaten the nubbin. And it's like, well, that wasn't what I bought the baby memory book for,
That's hilarious. And just so for our American listeners, when Tia says nappy, she means diaper. So just a bit of cross-cultural references there, but that's quite hilarious. That feels like a short film script in itself. The cat ate the dried up umbilical cord that slashed the nubbin.
Yeah, I mean, amazing. And like, well done, cats, you absolute bastards. And I thought, it just seemed to sum up parenthood to me. And then, so I had these ideas that just grew over years and years. And then when I became a parent myself, it's so intense. Those first few months, I really wanted to, as a filmmaker with older kids, my kids are 11 and 13. And I thought, I kind of want to tell a love letter to myself back then. Like,
I love that.
I really did. Like, just if I could go back and just say to myself, you are getting this wrong, you're going to bicker, oh my God, buckle up. Like, it's so hard. And that was what I pitched to Exeter Phoenix, was a love letter to a parent in that craziness of those first 6 months, not the birth, not the pregnancy. Like, you're in it and everybody else thinks, oh, they're doing great, and you're actually really starting to go, like, it's carnage.
That's a good word to use, carnage, because it really is. And you and I were talking about this in our pre-interview call, that the hard part, I mean, yes, birth can be difficult, and when you leave the hospital after the baby's born and you get into parenting. So, but I love how you were able to find the humor and turn, what is a difficult moment into something humorous. So, which we're gonna get into in a moment, the humor aspect, the comedy aspect of it. But I want to talk about the casting a same-sex couple, which we also talked about in our pre-interview call, and the fact that you didn't make the storyline about that. And what was your intent for doing this? And how did you decide on making the parents two women?
Yeah, I initially, it came from my own experience of parenting, and I'm in a hetero marriage, and I just started writing the script, and the dad, honestly, he just felt like this sort of, I just kept seeing this sort of harassed Hugh Grant, and I thought, Christ,
oh gosh,
it feels so well trodden. And then my daughter came home from school, and one of her really good friends at school was getting not so much bullied, but the boys in the class were like really flagging up that she has two mums. And I just thought, God, really? Is that a problem? And something about that just like landed with me, that I thought, wow, what if I just present a different sort of parenting, a different, just a different lens of parenting, but I don't really, that's not the story, it's incidental. And that was what was exciting about that, really. And then suddenly I could totally hear who both those parents were. And it opened up so much in terms of the theme. And I was really aware, I suddenly then was a bit worried, like, do I have ownership over this story? Like, this isn't the parenting that I've experienced. So we were really lucky to get lush new mums, Lauren and Aisha, who had baby Loudon, who was about 4 months old, and connected with them through a friend, and they were so generous, and we did loads of pre-scripting sessions with them, and the actresses chatted to them, and they were just so generous and really, really on board with the idea of their story, not their story, but seeing themselves on screen in terms of casting. And in fact, we used their little boy as the baby in the film. So it just felt like, we had something there that needed a little bit more research on my part to feel comfortable with. And then I just thought, this is definitely the way to go forward with it. But the casting was tricky because I working with a long-term collaborator of mine, Bethan Nash, who's an amazing actress. and we've done a few things together. She trained at a theatre school in Bristol, and I said, I really want you to play one of the mums, but this Channel 4 series called It's a Sin had just come out, which is about
oh, I've seen that. Yeah, it was on HBO in the US.
Right, incredible, powerful story
really
of sort
amazing.
of kind of dance scene in Soho at the time that AIDS started to really impact in London. And Russell T Davies, who wrote it, said he really felt that he had to queer cast that because of the nature of his own, it was a very personal story to him. And I thought, I need to kind of honor that, I think, in our story. So I chatted to Beth, who I knew was going to play one mum, and she said, oh, you've got to use my friend Georgia Frost, who's just ascending. Her talent is crazy. Get her while we can. And we've done some BBC comedy, so I knew she had real comedy chops, and they were really good friends. So I think the lack of being able to cast because of COVID, that was a great fit. So yeah, very lucky. Lots of times that we were lucky, and that was one of the times, production wise, definitely. Yeah.
And you can definitely tell they have good chemistry together, and it's very authentic, even though it's a scripted film, obviously.
Yeah.
Even though this wasn't part of the film itself, the same-sex storyline, I'd love for you to share some of the contextual background for listeners in terms of what it takes for a same-sex couple to have a baby in the UK, some of the financial and the legislative burdens that they have to go through just to get to that moment, and why seeing that on screen is also, I guess, somewhat of a silent celebration that, they are parents, that you see that view of parenting.
Yeah, I mean, God, that was an education for all of us, and again made me really feel like we've done the right thing, kind of, just making the story more diverse. I mean, initially, a big part of the film for me was our daughter had been very ill when she was 8, and it was pretty seismic, really, I have to be honest. So that reverberated out through kind of years of, still now impacts on us as a family. And I wanted to have an aspect of that in the film, that they've had a tough time, having the baby, and that's the elephant in the room, that's the thing that they're not talking about. And again, keep it kind of not prescribed, but I knew that there was a real anxiety that they were trying to ignore and going about it both in completely the wrong way. And when we started talking about that with Lauren and Aisha, they were saying, well, like there's this kind of, gay tax in the NHS. And I was really kind of horrified to find that, the NHS, which is this unbelievable organisation in the UK, which means we get free healthcare. You have a massive heart attack on the bus, they scoop you up, they fix you. They fixed our daughter. It's free. The food is terrible, but it's all free. Like, it's amazing. It is, the pride of the nation, with good reason. But when it comes to fertility treatment, at best there is kind of catching up with the legal equality of same-sex marriages, and at worst kind of a discrimination. So for instance, if you're a straight couple and trying to have a baby, I think you try for a year or 2 years, and then you'll be offered IVF, which is about £1,600 privately. So you have to be trying for a certain set number of months, and then you'll be offered free treatment as a straight couple. As a same-sex couple, you have to have paid for 6 rounds. 6 rounds privately. So it's kind of like, you're just that's not equal. That's not equality. So I genuinely felt like there was a bigger story then to tell, that we ummed and ahed about whether to script something in, but actually, the film's only just started on the festival circuit, and I'm already toying with the idea of a longer script that is like a prequel to this. So any producers with a bit of a indie feature budget, they'd like to
hint
Yeah, I'm all in. Here I am. But I think there was, there was a much bigger story suddenly there that we chose not to kind of signpost too much, but made the film, the ending, I think, so much more poignant for the actresses playing it. The backstory, then it's very hard for those couples financially, legally, medically. They're up against it to start a family. And it's so emotive when you've made that decision to have kids. It's hard. You're walking down the street, every pram, everyone in a little carrier.
Yeah.
I mean, there's heartbreak round every corner, and it's harder for those guys for sure, and bonkers as well. Like some of the there's organizations where men who, some I think have good intentions, that they would like to be a donor in the most charitable sense, and some of them, the men would like to be donors and they would like to be present for the donation in the most conventional sense of donating. And it's like, wow, I think
that's not sperm donation. That's wanting to have sex with someone and calling it a sperm donation. No, my dude, no. I mean, it just shows that there's still a lot of, stigma and obviously harassment, like you were talking about with your daughter's friends and their family. And so there's definitely an important aspect of showing a same-sex couple and having that contextual background. And
absolutely,
I really want to go back and watch it again and be like, wow, these people are amazing, knowing that that they consulted with a real life same-sex couple and they would have gone through all of that, so it's really incredible what you did.
Yeah, I mean, they were saying without the internet they would not have had a clue. Where do you begin? Like, how does one even start to go about having a family? And so they said, thank God for the internet age, because had they been wanting to have a family 15 years ago, I mean, just not a clue how to even begin. So it was a real eye-opener about kind of the discrimination, really, that is the lack of equality that couple are facing. And it's like 5% of IVF treatment is now both partners are the same sex. So there's like a lot of people. So yeah, we were excited to tell a different story, for that very reason. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it shows the important role that film plays in culture and breaking down stigma and misinformation and just sharing helpful ideas and that representation on screen as well. So it's really exciting that you did that. So switching gears a little bit to the placenta part of the conversation, because this really is the elephant in the room. And just full disclosure, both Tia and myself are parents. So for anyone who is a parent, I think, who has been in close proximity to parenting and babies and, the postpartum experience, you may be familiar with the idea of, people who make a placenta smoothie or do all these things which are considered, hippie or alternative. And I will share that after my second child was born, my daughter, I had a doula. The first time I did not, because I had no idea what I was doing. The second time, when my daughter was born, my doula said, do you want to keep your placenta? And I was like, what? Why? Is that a thing? Do people keep it? She's like, yeah, the hospital can either keep it for you for $2,000 and keep those really, really important blood cells and nutrients if something happens with the baby. And I thought, oh yeah, that's a thing. And the doula said, otherwise I can take it home for free. And she has, her kitchen and house set up, and she was able to dehydrate it. She's like, I can make it into pills for you. So I thought, I have no idea what that is. Sure, go ahead. It's free. It's not $2,000. So she made these dehydrated placenta pills. And, I was told it helps with postpartum anxiety, depression, mental health, all of that stuff. I'm not sure if it actually did that, but I took it. So I am officially one of those quote unquote placenta people now. But all of that to say that there are many different interesting and random stories out there about placentas. And Tia, I'd love to find out from you, taking the idea of something that is taboo or some people think is gross or weird or unheard of, and bringing the comedy into all of that. I love that you kind of balance those two out. I'd love for you to talk about that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And fair play getting your, you grew the placenta, right? And it's
true. Why do I pay $2,000?
Right. And it's cheaper than athletic greens. So, eat it. Yeah. Just like have that, Well, again, I kind of had seen years ago a cookery program on in the UK that became like a real water cooler moment where somebody made placenta pate on a cookery
Oh
show,
my
and it
God.
was staggeringly disgusting. And then loads of people came to the party, and like they had a placenta party, and they because it's huge. I mean, the placenta is huge, so they like buried 3/4 of it under a tree, and then all the guests ate this pate, all sat around like,
Did they know they were eating placenta?
we're
Oh my
like
gosh.
caning it, you know. I mean, Brits drink a lot, so they probably didn't know what the hell was going on, but you know,
Yeah.
still really grim. And so that was in my brain as well. And then I thought, okay, I really want to explore this idea of how hard and messy parenting is. Well, let's like fully cinematically whack that whack that into the story as a placenta. And I did have a friend who'd like you know, had been offered the chance to keep the placenta and gone, yeah, I want the placenta. And then it was just in the freezer for 12 years, you know, every time you open the freezer to get out. And
wow, 12 years.
yeah.
And it's big, like you said, it's
massive.
a big organ.
Still on its own shelf. Like, what are you going to do with
Oh
it?
my God.
And yeah, so the idea that they suddenly remember it and just, this is this sort of old wife's remedy for mastitis is that you eat some of the placenta, but how? And then it becomes, you know, it becomes kind of part of the conflict. It's the building conflict between, you know, we're doing okay. This is great. I've got this. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make you eat your afterbirth, and then we're going to be even more okay. Versus we're really not okay. And how do I let you be part of my experience as the breastfeeding mum? You know, how do you, you know, we talked a lot about how it would feel, you know, not being able to feed the baby, but you've got breasts, but you can't feed the baby. You can't help feed the baby. It's like a whole extra level of feeling useless, I think, is we were sort of exploring that with the idea of cooking up the placenta, and also just how it got messy. It got properly messy on screen, which was that gross out humor. I think I said to you, we were having a chat the other day, I'd loved Booksmart, and just the idea that women can just be as funny as in that sort of raw gross out humor. Really was we were going for a bit of that, like uncomfortable gross out humor.
I love that.
And blokes, oh my God, blokes really struggle watching it. I've seen it screened twice and they are struggling. It's hilarious.
But that's like, I mean, I feel like that's good because they should see it, and there should be more women being allowed to write gross out humor, and it be normalized in some weird sense, and it's still part of the human body. So, you know, eat placenta pate.
I think the challenge was to have it kind of like emotionally motivated, rather than just kind of shoved in. But it is funny where middle-aged women all start like proper doubling over once we're in full placenta mode, and the blokes just go a bit silent and struggle slightly. So, you know, hooray for us for kind of making them uncomfortable. And and they do laugh at parts, but they're a bit, I think people are just staggered by what it looks like, and it genuinely, that's what it looks like. It's horrific. It's like roadkill.
I mean, I think there's something to be said about creating films and visuals on screen of, you know, aspects of women's bodies that are just so taboo, generally speaking. I remember earlier this year we did an interview with a film that was about endometriosis, and there's all these visual representations of blood and ovaries and uteruses, and the writer was telling me that a lot of people in screenings were like grossed out. Men were, you know, writing things on the internet, but there really is a breaking through of that taboo, showing these things that, you know, millions and, or dare I say billions of women go through every day, every year. And why shouldn't it be on screen, and why shouldn't it be written out as, you know, something normal? So I just thought I'd mention that because I think that's one of the really important aspects of what we do as the Repro Film Fest, really talk about all different aspects of reproductive health and maternal health. But now I want to ask a practical question.
Yes.
What did you actually use for the placenta in the film, and where does one get a prop placenta made? Like, what? Tell me about the mechanics of all of that.
Oh my God, I know. Bloody hell! I thought that'd be like
Literally, bloody hell.
I thought, oh yeah, you know, we'll just go and get a placenta. A couple of my friends were pregnant. I was like, any chance? And they were like, no, 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 no. I was like, God, really? I thought we were friends. So, um, worked before with our amazing art director Rosa Truelove, and she was really lucky to work with her again. And we sat down. We were like, we're going to need a few stages of it as well because it gets cooked and various things happen to it, and really and there's a bit of a visual punchline as well. We needed a different sort of placenta for that, so we needed it in various stages, and we thought maybe we could get our hands on a pig's placenta, which seemed like quite close to it's biologically looks really similar, but it turns out it's really easy to get hold of animal parts once they're from a dead animal. But getting bits from a live animal, because of like mad cow disease, and you know, it's part of the whole sort of, I don't know, brain stem down through central nervous system, and then it, you know, you can't just rock up at a farm and go, please could I have a placenta, you know, you legally you're not allowed to do it. So now we all know that, so there you go. If you want them, you can't get them. So thank God, Rosa is amazing at prosthetics. She just done all these incredible horror prosthetics for a Mary Shelley museum in Bath.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she'd been making these. So I went into her studio, and there was like this massive like prosthetic pig head and all these organs and Frankenstein stuff. And it's a museum where they reclaim the story of Mary Shelley, which is, Frankenstein is really about birth and death and birth,
really?
And it's just been stolen by men for hundreds of years. You know who you are, Kenneth Branagh. So Rosa was so excited to come from that, and then up for the challenge of, she made the placenta. She made a big massive placenta, and then made a ceramic. No, I don't know what the process is, but you cast it in silicone, and then she painted and decorated it, and it was unbelievable. It's
so realistic.
Yeah, it was incredible. She did the most amazing job, and then confided in me that she was actually 7 weeks pregnant while we were sat with the filming, and sent me a photo of her placenta like 8 months later, and went
full circle moment.
She was like, you know, and I was so amazing. She was like, how amazing am I? And I was like, what's a mum? And she was like, no, as an art director, my placenta is the same
as the fake one I created for your film.
Yeah. So she did an incredible job. And yeah, as soon as it came on set, everyone was just so grossed out and prodding it, and it was brilliant. And it was lovely for the, you know, we did that scene where the actresses first see it for the first time. We just did that as a single take, and they just kind of reacted to it there and then. So yeah, I
mean, it is such a visceral reaction. Even as an audience member, when you see it, you're just like, oh, what are they going to do next? Is she just going to put it in her mouth?
Yeah, and then we went from that to, we actually had a pig's heart that was 4 pig hearts sewn together to represent it when it was being cut up. So yeah, we then went into sort of real food world, but initially an incredible bit of art direction.
Wow, I love that. The magic behind the film. It's almost a character of its own, this placenta, because you see it in such very vivid ways, and it plays such a vital role in each of the characters', you know, trajectory in this film. So I really love hearing about how it came about, and it's such a beautiful story about your art director, and coming full circle, she got to see her own placenta and was awed by the work that she did, rather than you know, just motherhood itself. So I love that.
And again, it's like it's like another, you know, it's lovely to be mentioned in the same breath as sort of endo, which is just a phenomenon. I think Alice Seabright's work is a massive inspiration to me as a director. So it's lovely to be showcased, you know, with you guys as well. And you know, what you chatted about in that podcast, it was sort of like this, what we see on screen, and you know, we don't ever see births properly on screen, we don't see sex properly on screen. We don't see birth properly on screen. We never see the placenta. So I was just, all in for just kind of something completely other, but then, making sure that was emotionally grounded rather than just for the sake of it. But it's staggering how it to me, and anybody who's had kids, it's like, it's something that we talk about. It's something that we know we deliver after the baby. It's just a taboo thing. I mean, it's extraordinary, the sort of that it has caused, it's like, it should have its own credit. It's just become this huge part of the film, which that's interesting in itself, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know for myself now that I am a mother, when I see scenes in film or on screen of someone's water breaking, it's like a waterfall, it pisses me off now. I'm like, oh my God, come on. And it just really makes me think, if there were more accurate representations of birth and women's bodies and the processes and things that we go through, perhaps that would go a long way to changing the culture around laws, around stigma, around ideology. I mean, who knows? That's just me thinking in the abstract, but perhaps it is, another reason why films like yours and Endo are really important, to showcase those and also show to people out there with uteruses that, hey, you are not alone. This is normal. You are not crazy. So, yeah, I really love that. But I'd love to talk about your career as a filmmaker. Speaking of, representation of film, navigating your career as, after becoming a mother, also dealing with COVID. I think this is a conversation so many other filmmaker mothers out there and parents are wanting to hear right now. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. How did you navigate COVID? How have you navigated your filmmaking career as a mother, or thoughts that you really want to share?
Yeah. I mean, COVID, it was a piece of piss, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, it still is.
I felt like we were on this massive snakes and ladders board all the time, because in the UK we had this thing, like every time someone in the household tested positive, everyone had to just like go in their bunker for 10 days. And it'd be like, we're back. Everyone's in work. Everyone's at school. Oh shit! Someone right back in the bunker, down the snake, and then like, oh please, can you make your school trip up the ladder? We made the school trip. Oh Christ, the whole class has got it again. So
oh my God.
Yeah, it was a weird one for us, because our daughter, because of her health problems, had been put on the UK shielding list. So we were really, I just kind of thought, okay, my overriding thing is to keep her safe and well. So I'm going to turn down any work that means I have to be, on a set or with any number of people or indoors. That's not going to happen for me. And just to backtrack slightly, I'd gone from, before I had the kids, I worked as a CGI animator for about 15 years, and then had the kids. Then it turned out, being an animator as a mum, where like everything's in slow motion, it takes a week to do 4 seconds of animation for Nickelodeon.
Oh my gosh.
That's not going to work. So I'd been retraining in live action and finding my feet with that. And I was sort of working freelance and doing my own bits and bobs, feeling a little bit flung out for the industry, in truth, because I'm not in London. I'm not able to work full time. I haven't been to film school. And just as the pandemic kicked off, I thought, you know what, I'm going to commit to doing comedy. That's what I'm going to do. And I'd signed up the first Thursday night that we went into full lockdown in the UK in March. I'd signed up to do a online course where you learn to write sitcoms. And there was 10 of us, and we all just sat on this Zoom call, like shell-shocked, absolute shell-shocked, as we analysed scenes from, Fawlty Towers. It was just insane.
Right.
And then what I ended up doing was doing, a lot of writing. So that was great. I could do that. And then I made a no-budget short film, which was a comedy short film that actually ended up doing really well for itself and won a few festivals, and just screened in LA at the Hollywood Comedy Shorts Festival. And
amazing.
That kind of gave me loads of confidence, and also led to the short film funding with Extra Phoenix. So I felt really championed by them, and in a weird sort of way, a climate where I thought, I'm not going to get anything made. I'm kind of making my most exciting work. And I'm just riding that out now, actually. I'm thinking, okay, great. I'm not going to go to London, not going to focus on long form, just done a really nice music promo with a great comedy actor in the UK called Spencer Jones. He's got his own BBC series for a fantastic local artist, Billy No Mate. So it's, I think suddenly you just find yourself, by going that route to that career path, which I feel like everybody else is kind of climbing up that ladder. I can't even, don't even know which city that ladder's in. I'm too busy. Like, I'm on the school run. I can't even focus on that ladder. And then that can become a superpower in a way. You know, it doesn't mean you're not going to get where you want to go. You're just not going to go the same way that everybody else does. And you're going to start curating slightly different work. So I do feel, braver for it. And I had a really sick kid. So, you know, if I make a shitty film, that's not the scariest thing that can happen to me. You know, she's fearless. So we're kind of creatively there with her. So it's maybe, I don't feel like I can give great career advice to the young women coming through, because I'm kind of going at it my own way, but that's probably no bad thing, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the way you're talking about, you know, having to go on your own path, there's some sort of sense of freedom in that, where you don't feel the need to hustle and compete. And I live in Los Angeles, and you know, when my husband and I moved here, and he's a photographer, you know, we're in it all the time. And then having kids just kind of gives you this, almost forces you to slow down and reevaluate. And then, of course, the pandemic adds a whole different layer to that for everyone, parents or not. So I really love the idea that people in the film industry are thinking of new ways to create, you know, their artistry and put their work out there. So good on you for doing that. And I love seeing the work that you're doing, and that your most exciting work is happening during this time that, you know, women often get written off in their careers. So I think that's really lovely. And the other thing that we spoke about on the phone the other day, you said something really powerful, that who gets to have a say in terms of the narratives we create on film, and why we need more women, mothers, queer people, non-binary people. Can you share your perspective on the importance of the quote unquote whose gaze we see on screen, and why it needs to be more diverse?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a balance with that, isn't there? Because I also worry a little bit about like, the onus shouldn't be on us to smash through glass ceilings day in, day out, you know?
Yes.
I'm knackered anyway.
Yeah.
And also I'm a bit like, oh my God, do I have to lean in? Can I just lean out a bit?
Oh my God, it makes me think of that. I don't know if you've ever seen Ali Wong's Netflix comedy series. She's just a brilliant comedian, American Asian.
No. Is it a series or a stand-up show?
It's a stand-up special on Netflix, and it's one of her first ones. And she was heavily pregnant when she was doing it. But one of the things she says in it, she was like, guys, I don't want to lean in. I just want to lie down. And she talks about her husband being this, you know, Harvard educated tech guy. But the kicker is, in real life, she's actually more well off than him, because she's done, I think, 3 or 4 Netflix specials now. And she's this well-known comedian, did a film with Keanu Reeves that she wrote. But just the line of, like, I don't want to lean in. I just want to lie down. I'm like, Ali, yes, that's what I want to do. So I just made me think of that when you said that. So
I mean, there's something in that, because then I think there's the kickback. I've seen it with like Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I mean, the British press love to build someone up, and then like literally like, you know, they'd have you like guillotined in a square if they could.
Oh God, same with Australia.
No, God. Know your place. But and then, you know, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, it's like she's criticized for being, you know, too posh and too this. It's like she's not the kind of, you know, poster girl for every single comic voice going. And, you know, she isn't the working class comedy voice, but there's, you know, you can, if you want that, oh my God, there's quality out there in spades. So yeah, I'm aware that I never want to be on a campaign trail, other than, you know, I've got a daughter, so I am going to keep making shit forever. And I've now sort of like, you know, growing into the confidence of knowing I just have to get my process, hone my director's process, not be a dick on set, not have other dicks on set, and make stuff that really chimes with me and makes me laugh and connects with me. And someone else out there will find that. And I'm just going to keep doing that and make sure that there are people of my age and my background with my, as a working mum, with some of those thoughts and some of those interests. And it's really important. I could have just slipped off and gone and done other stuff. And it's nearly happened hundreds of times, if I'm being honest. So yeah, it's like, I just think sometimes people will give you the money to make something and piss off because they're so fed up of you just coming again and again and again. Like, here's some funding. Now fuck off. Just, and it's like,
is that your advice for filmmakers? Just badger them until they say, here's some money, piss off.
Until they give you money to fuck off. That's my top tip.
You do realize that's going to be the pull quote and the soundbite we're going to use on social media. Here is Tia Salisbury's advice for filmmakers. Here's the money, now fuck off.
It's a life, it's across the board for life, actually. Don't limit it to the creative
okay industry. That's even better.
No, so yes, part of me is kind of, I don't want to be like, some sort of pioneering comedy filmmaker, but there's very few of me around that I'm finding. And actually there's positive discrimination in that as well. I think there are schemes coming through. The next short that I've just written is an absurdist world where men have to go through the menopause, called the menopause. So there's so much estrogen in the drinking water. Now they've got to go through the menopause as well. And I think I can see that someone somewhere is going to feel that there's something kind of buzzy about that. And that's not a film that's going to get made by, a 24-year-old male graduate who's amazing, coming out of the National Film and Television School, which is not something I can do. Even the summer schools, right? The training up, how do I hone my process? How do I get more experience? It's all summer schools. I can't go to a summer school. So, that there is, I think you just have to kind of have an awareness of your limitations, and those might also be your strengths as well.
I love that. That's really beautiful. It's a great way to kind of not be so stuck in the struggle of it, but realize that can be a way to find your path forward. I think that's really, filmmaking is such a hard industry anyway. I think you've all constantly got to be thinking outside of the box, and who's your audience, what's your motivation, all of that. So I think it's constant reevaluation. What do you want viewers to think about or feel after watching Placenta Pâté? Obviously this is a comedy short film, but is there something you want them to leave with after watching?
Oh, wow. Oh my God, after our lovely global plague, it's just, I still can't believe we got to make it. I can't believe, just the creative generosity of everybody, the cast, the crew. Shout out to Chloe Brown, Saffron Watson, who are our young producers. It was so hard to make it. Like the actors couldn't touch the baby. It's a film about parenting. You can't touch the baby. It's just,
wow.
It's bonkers.
That was a COVID restriction that you put on set.
We were really it was so hard to shoot it. So what a lovely, lovely thing to be able to, for you guys to host it. That's, I'm so grateful for that people would watch it and enjoy it. So thank you, anybody who watches it, first and foremost. And I'd really love anybody who's a new parent, or anybody who's thinking of becoming a parent, or anybody who is a parent, just to kind of, give themselves a break, because it's just so hard being a parent, and it's just the roller coaster of your life. And I just wanted to make an entertaining kind of, well made short in the mold of an amazing Alice Seabright short, for instance, and have you hang out with this couple and just then be a little bit better off in the world at the end of the film than they were at the beginning, because no one's going to get it. You're not going to lick parenting ever. So, that was, I always had an ending that was kind of like, oh yeah, you've got this absolutely sorted. Oh, fuck, no, you haven't. So, um, yeah, I would love to give all parents the world over a bit of a hug, and also to have the bravery to try telling other people's stories. And maybe it won't always feel right, maybe it won't always sit right. And I did worry about telling someone else's story, and hopefully, you know, we kind of chatted around that and wrote a script that reflected the real life experience of parents who weren't parenting in the same way that I had done. And I'm so much more comfortable with the fact that we did tell somebody else's story who maybe isn't on the screen as often than I am, I am uncomfortable in you know, kind of trying to take ownership of someone else's narrative. So yeah, that balance I think we got right. And you know, I don't always feel represented in an industry and on screen, so you know, I should be telling stories with other people who feel the same way.
Yeah, brilliantly said. I love that. What's next for you in terms of filmmaking? How can listeners support your work? Where can we follow you, stalk you, all that kind of stuff online?
Yeah, I'm on all the usual social media stuff, which I loathe.
Same to a degree, yes, same.
But it is, you know, it is brilliant, and I yeah, I'm yeah, just doing some more music promo work again, which is such a treat to do that stuff again and work with some bands. That's a really, you know, that's a perfect thing for me. It's containable, and I get to do it in the city, and there's fantastic Bristol is, you know, world famous for its amazing music. So really lucky to be able to tap into that kind of as a bit more of my bread and butter work. And then yeah, I'm writing a short that I'm hoping to pitch to there's a new BBC scheme for comedy shorts and various other schemes out over the summer. So getting the unleashing the menopause upon the world before it really happens, before the drinking water really makes everyone grow moobs and start going through it for real. Welcome, men. Yeah, and I'm excited to see where Placenta Pâté goes and how it connects with audiences. And yeah, just I do feel there's maybe a longer form film in there, having learned what I've learned about, you know, the origin story that would have got that couple to where they are when we meet them is kind of a fascinating field for sort of comedy drama. I think could be an amazing rom-com in there, actually.
Well, I am definitely looking forward to the long form version of Placenta Pâté, or whatever title it takes at some stage, and especially menopause. I think that sounds like a wonderful, almost like I Am Legend, post-apocalyptic, pandemic type, Walking Dead film, but with a comedy feel to it, because it is you after all. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Well, spoiler, the lead male does not cope with it very well.
You can watch Placenta Pâté in this month's periodical, and we're going to share links to your social media. People can get in touch. Tia Salisbury, all the way from Bristol, UK. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Oh, thank you. It's been a joy. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Be sure to follow Tia on Instagram and Twitter at Tia Salisbury for both, and check out more of her award-winning work at tiasalisbury.com. To watch Placenta Pâté during July, head to reprofilm.org and sign up to our monthly periodical if you haven't already. The Repro Film podcast is executive produced by Mama Film, hosted and produced by me, Asha Dahya, edited by Kylie Brown, with original music by Paris Jane and Maurice Anthony. Our monthly periodical is programmed by Neha Aziz and written by Emily Christensen. This month, we welcomed 2 new colleagues to our team. Alex Scambardi is our social media manager, and Rebecca Sosa is our distribution and impact strategist. You can find us on social media at Repro Film Official on Instagram and Facebook, and Repro Film Fest on Twitter. I look forward to bringing you our next conversation next month. Bye for now.